Welcome, committee members. I'm Vicki Mowat, the Deputy Chair of the Standing Committee on House Services. Today with us, we have Ms. Carla Beck, Mr. Greg Ottenbright, Mr. Doug Steele, the Honourable Randy Weeks, who is the Chair, and substituting for Mr. Terry Dennis, we have Daryl Harrison. Substituting for the Honourable Jeremy Harrison, we have David Buckingham. I'd like to inform the committee that pursuant to Rule 139 sub 5, the following estimates and supplementary estimates were committed to the Standing Committee on House Services on March 31st, 2022 and March 23rd, 2022, respectively. 2022-2023 estimates. Vote 76, Advocate for Children and Youth. Vote 34, Chief Electoral Officer. Vote 57, Conflict of Interest Commissioner. Vote 55, Information and Privacy Commissioner. Vote 21, Legislative Assembly. Vote 56, Ombudsman and Public Interest Disclosure Commissioner. Vote 28, Provincial Auditor. And supplementary estimates number 2, Vote 34, Chief Electoral Officer. Also pursuant to the rules, specifically Rule 139 sub 6, the Speaker shall not preside during the examination of bills or estimates in this committee. However, the Speaker is here for consideration of estimates for the Legislative Assembly and officers of the Legislative Assembly. We are here today to consider the 2022-2023 estimates and the 2021-2022 supplementary estimates number 2 for the legislative branch of government. Estimates. Vote 76, Advocate for Children and Youth, page 127. Advocate for Children and Youth subvote CA01 in the amount of $2,739,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Advocate for Children and Youth, vote 76, $2,739,000. I now ask a member to move the following resolution. Resolved that there be granted to Her Majesty for the 12 months ending March 31st, 2023, the following sums for Advocate for Children and Youth in the amount of $2,739,000. Mr. Buckingham?
Don't touch it.
Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried.
And then you got to sign full signature there.
Didn't know if we were waiting for a paper. Vote 34, Chief Electoral Officer, page 129. Chief Electoral Officer subvote CE01 in the amount of $5,546,000. There is no vote as this is statutory. Non-appropriated expense adjustments in the amount of $242,000. Non-appropriated expense adjustments are non-cash adjustments presented for informational purpose only. No amount is to be voted. Vote 57, Conflict of Interest Commissioner, page 131. Conflict of Interest Commissioner subvote CC01 in the amount of $596,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Conflict of Interest Commissioner vote 57, $596,000. I will now ask a member to move the following resolution. Resolved that there be granted to Her Majesty for the 12 months ending March 31st, 2023, the following sums for Conflict of Interest Commissioner in the amount of $596,000. Mr. Steele, is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Vote 55, Information and Privacy Commissioner, page 133. Information and Privacy Commissioner subvote IP01 in the amount of $2,281,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Information and Privacy Commissioner vote 55, $2,281,000. I will now ask a member to move the following resolution. Resolved that there be granted to Her Majesty for the 12 months ending March 31st, 2023, the following sums for Information and Privacy Commissioner in the amount of $2,281,000.
I so move.
Mr. Harrison, is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Vote 21, Legislative Assembly, page 135, Central Management and Services Subvote LG01 in the amount of $3,781,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Legislative Assembly Subvote LG03 in the amount of $6,472,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Committees of the Legislative Assembly Subvote LG04 in the amount of $35,000. There is no vote as this is statutory. Payments and allowances to individual members, subvote LG05 in the amount of $16,717,000. There's no vote as this is statutory. Caucus operations, subvote LG06 in the amount of $2,318,000. There's no vote as this is statutory. Office of the Speaker and Board of Internal Economy, subvote LG07 in the amount of $404,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Non-appropriated expense adjustment in the amount of $150,000. Non-appropriated expense adjustments are non-cash adjustments presented for informational purposes only. No amount is to be voted. Legislative Assembly vote 21, $10,657,000. I will now ask a member to move the following resolution. Resolved that there be granted to Her Majesty for the 12 months ending March 31st, 2023, the following sums for Legislative Assembly in the amount of $10,657,000.
Also move.
Mr. Ottenbright, is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Vote 56, Ombudsman and Public Interest Disclosure Commissioner, page 139. Ombudsman and Public Interest Disclosure Commissioner, subvote OM01 in the amount of $4,213,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Ombudsman and Public Interest Disclosure Commissioner, vote 56, $4,213,000. I will now ask a member to move the following resolution. Resolved that there be granted to Her Majesty for the 12 months ending March 31st, 2023, the following sums for Ombudsman and Public Interest Disclosure Commissioner in the amount of $4,213,000.
I so move.
Mr. Buckingham, is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Vote 28, Provincial Auditor, page 141. Provincial Auditor subvote PA01 in the amount of $8,594,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Unforeseen expenses subvote PA02 in the amount of $588,000. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Provincial Auditor vote 28, $9,182,000. I will now ask a member to move the following resolution. Resolved that there be granted to Her Majesty for the 12 months ending March 31st, 2023, the following sums for Provincial Auditor in the amount of $9,182,000.
I so move.
Mr. Steele, is that agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. Supplementary estimates number 2. Vote 34, Chief Electoral Officer, page 12. Chief Electoral Officer subvote CE01 in the amount of $452,000. There's no vote as this is statutory. So we'll now have a motion to present the report to the Assembly. Do we have, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Buckingham.
Don't touch it. Okay, thank you. I move that the 7th report of the Standing Committee on House Services be adopted and presented to the Assembly.
Members move that the 7th report of the Standing Committee on House Services be adopted and presented to the Assembly. Is that agreed? Carried.
Sign, right, carried.
That's a bad signature.
Sign this one.
Does anyone have any closing remarks? Okay, then I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Agreed?
Agreed.
Carried. The committee stands adjourned until the call of the chair. Thank you.